So my involvement officially with the community is the Affordable Housing Trust. I'm currently the vice chair. I've been on 4 years. And then since last year, the Council for Human Services, and I serve as the chair. And then in addition to that, I also am involved at the First Congregational Church and Nantucket Equity Advocates. It's really fun and it's really interesting to see how government works. And more importantly, on Nantucket, one has the opportunity to affect change in a way that you wouldn't have in a larger community. You really can change things. For someone who's not ready yet, just going to meetings and maybe practicing making comments in the public comment portion, there's a public comment portion in every meeting. And if you have something you want to talk about, or there's a discussion of something of interest to you and you have a suggestion or an opinion, that practicing by participating as a public member in public meetings is a really easy way to get your toe in the water. So I would say that when you join a committee for the first time, there's definitely an opportunity to take a back seat and listen and learn. For anyone who's interested in our governance or how our community runs and how to have an influence on that, you can start by just attending public meetings. Just start going, because the interesting thing is these are all public meetings, so anyone can go and attend. And there's obviously been greater access during COVID because everything's been on Zoom. But even before then, everyone is welcome to come to Affordable Housing Trust meetings. And so if you think you're interested in the work of a particular committee, you can just go. Through that process, you can meet members, start asking questions, and make the connections, and you can start your learning curve before you even apply to serve on a particular board and committee. And you certainly have the opportunity to test out a few if you have multiple areas of interest and find out if the work you think that committee does is actually what they do, and whether the pace of it matches you, what you'd like to see happen, and how much influence you can have in moving the community forward. As a starting point, certainly anyone could reach out to the chair of a committee. All of the committees and their members are posted on the town's webpage. So if you go searching, you might find someone you already know. There are always openings available across the board. A little bit of investigation might help one find a board or committee that will be really easy to get appointed to, and let you test the waters. And also, what is their meeting time? How often do they meet? These are questions that can be answered by the chair of a committee. There's an openness to people who are serving already to help others. When I first applied for the Affordable Housing Trust, the process was you apply and then you're invited to a select board meeting where you are invited to, but not required to, make brief remarks about your interest in the committee. No one is required to speak at that select board meeting. They are invited to speak. And I know there are a number of folks who serve on the Council for Human Services who were unable to attend the select board meeting when our appointments were being considered, and they are on the Council for Human Services. So I can say definitively that speaking is not required. The paperwork is really not complicated at all. It just asks you a few simple questions. What's your interest? What experience do you have? And I would argue that the select board is very interested in encouraging newcomers to serve in government, and that by no means are you expected to produce a resume that reflects a whole lot of background on the committee, that folks are 100% welcome to join with passion and not a lot of educational background or professional experience on most of our committees. Folks from diverse backgrounds applying to boards and committees is critical to having our full community represented in governance. It is a passion of mine. I believe the select board members are very interested in seeing more diversity in government participation. And I can tell you that the Council for Human Services is now the most diversely represented board in government right now. 3 of our members are Spanish first speakers, and 1 is a Portuguese first Brazilian community member. And the depth and breadth of knowledge and information that they bring to the deliberations of the Council for Human Services has been remarkable, well received by the community, by town administration. The feedback we get is that when we make recommendations to town administration, they believe it is coming from a much more full part of our community, and it means a lot. It brings something new to the table, and I believe our select board and town administration are very interested in seeing and hearing the voices of our diverse community. And so I would say I am not from here, and I speak a different language, and I represent a different culture, are all positive reasons that one would be considered to serve on a board or committee in Nantucket. The rewards of serving in the community for anyone is that your voice matters and you bring your experience, your background, your perspective to important decisions that are made in the community that affect all of us. I married Nantucket, basically. My husband brought me here before we were married, and the way I describe it to people is I raised 4 summer kids here, one of whom settled, and I'm now the grandmother of 2 natives. And so we were summer people for a long time, and then we moved back here full time 8 years ago to call Nantucket home, and it was the best decision we ever made.